Welcome to another episode of Automation Shots by Engibots. I'm your host, Ricardo Silva, and today we have a very special guest joining us, which is Marianne Van. I don't know the surnames of our guests. It's always a struggle. Groninger? Groningen?
Groningen, yes.
Groningen. Dutch is not my strongest language, at least. Marianne, thank you so much for being here. It's a real pleasure to have you on the show. You are the first woman at this show. After 5 episodes, we have a woman here on the show. For those that are tuning in for the first time, Shoot is a podcast where we dive deep into the world of automation, artificial intelligence, and how these technologies are transforming business, operations, and leadership. So let's jump into to our podcast. Um, Marianne, do you want to introduce yourself? Talk a little bit about your journey. Um, yeah, I pass the ball to you right now.
Yes, thank you. And thank you for hosting me. It's a pleasure to be here. And my background is I've worked 17 years in HR leadership development type of expertise, and mainly in technology centered organizations, which is both of my passion, leadership development as well, technologies. I've worked 12 years for a corporate organization. It's called Schneider Electric. And my previous two roles at Schneider Electric were HR director for the Netherlands and European talent management specialist. And the connection then with, let's say, leadership development and digital transformation is because in the European talent management role, I worked on an assignment on what is the impact of the digital transformation towards the workforce of the future. So we deep dived in artificial intelligence, machine learning, and deep learning. And this is how I've also fueled my passion and interest for new technologies.
How many years did you spend on Schneider Electric?
12 years.
12 years. It's
Yes.
a
So
long time. It's a journey.
it's a journey. Yes, you need I'm learning a new language now, being an entrepreneur since end of 2023, because then we have emigrated from the Netherlands to Portugal to prolong entrepreneurship, which is a
Oh,
great.
yeah, it's a great thing. How is going from the more technical career on HR to a more entrepreneurial career right now?
So, I mean, to connect this to the two most important leadership skills that I see for 2025, it's system thinking, to understand the correlation between different systems and the interconnectivity of processes, tools, and technologies, and empathic or human-centered leadership. Those are the two most important ones. And I'm every day grateful that I'm started my career in HR services, because I see the processes and the structures as the backbone of your organization. If you don't master your backbone of your organization well, then it will either affect your internal organization or your external organization. And starting then as an entrepreneur, this is what basically where you start. I mean, you start with your offer creation, with your value proposition, your product development. But if you don't organize this around your um, your infrastructure of your organization, basically with the processes, the systems, the way how you organize yourself, yeah, at some point you're getting stuck. So this is definitely a rich experience that I needed to apply from scratch, starting as an entrepreneur.
Very cool, very cool. Especially in times like this where we started to have lots of AI in corporate world, agentic stuff, agentic AI, and there are certain jobs that for sure, or even tasks that in 10 years now will be done by AI or agents, especially the most repetitive ones, which is the kind of work that Engibots does. Nowadays, I think the HR department or the HR strategy will be very important for the default, even more important for the companies because we should focus more on the human side of the persons, of the employees, and not so much on quantitative side of execution of process of the people, because that type of work will be leveraged to the AI and that kind of stuff. Looking for your experience, Marianne, how you did your experience on Schneider Electric was quite a few time, a long time. Being on a very complex and large organization like Schneider Electric is right now, how it shaped your view or your vision of leadership, change management, and innovation.
Yeah, so great, thank you. Great question. Thank you for asking. I approach it as the following. So my proposition is that you either innovate or you die. So innovative leadership is such an important element, and the similarities I see within corporate life versus entrepreneurship is that you need to put your leadership at the center of everything what you do. So it's not the innovation that makes your company succeed. It's your leadership on how to leverage the innovation that makes it succeed. So it's your stakeholder management, it's your visibility, it's how you connect um, with the internal and the external organization. So this is actually similar. Of course, the playground is more expanded in entrepreneurship versus working in a company, especially as I was previously in a support function role, and now I'm more in a external commercial type of role. So that's the biggest transformation for myself. But I do see those skill sets being transferable between entrepreneurship and corporate life.
So, because as I see the leadership role nowadays, at a general point at least, um, it is the guy that leads the vision, especially the entrepreneurship leadership. It's the guy that puts the vision on a table, and all the elements that you talk about and you referred are the glue to put this vision in execution. Okay, if you don't have those elements, the vision basically is nothing. You cannot put concrete that vision. Okay, very cool. So, and you decided to create career coaching Europe. Um, it was not a long time ago. I believe that was less than a year, correct?
Yes.
Uh, how is your vision? Since we are talking in terms of vision, you introduced here a methodology, okay, the 5 steps methodology. Can you introduce this methodology and your vision for the career coaching Europe?
Yes, for sure. So nowadays, every leader is leading innovation or a type of transformation, whether this is a cultural transformation, this is digital transformation. I don't see a lot of leaders who are just maintaining the status quo. It's like continuously dynamic. And therefore, it needs a different type of style. So, what I'm happy to see is that mindset, what used to be quite a bit of a fuzzy word, is now becoming more of a normalization. So your mindset is really important. Either it's a growth mindset, innovative mindset, or you just need to be able to visualize, okay, what is my priority? How do I see the future between 5 to 10 years? And then you need to start working on that together with your team. So mindset is the first step of the 5 steps methodology, that you need to be clear on what you want to accomplish and how to realize that. So the second step is then to define your to be situation. So to define, where am I within my scope of responsibilities, to better understand the gap on where you want to be. So your as is situation is step number 2, and your to be situation is your step number 3. And this helps you to identify what is the gap to bridge your vision into reality. In the fourth step, you are actually building upon your transformation roadmap, to put it like that, identifying, okay, how do I connect my strategy to my cultural transformation, to the technologies and tools and processes that I need to make sure that everything is aligned throughout the whole chain. And then in the fifth step, you actually come into the execution phase or the operational excellence phase. And throughout this process, this alignment is super important. So um, to simplify actually three priorities that I think every company or business unit department can fit in. It's that either you are in a stage of market adaptability. You need, as an example, AI to adapt to market needs. The second is that you need to increase efficiency and reduce cost. And the third step is that you want to enhance your customer experience. So I think if we're looking in a simplified way to today's needs for transformation, it can fit in one of those three areas. And once you have clarified that, innovation becomes a way of running that. So innovation is never a goal, it's always a process or a tool to leverage what you want to accomplish in line with your vision.
So your boat to get to the destination.
Sorry, what did you say?
It's your boat to go to the destination. Okay.
Yes,
Uh,
indeed. Yes.
Basically. Okay, you have been working with leadership with leaders. I suppose that the challenges of the leaders in these last years had changed a lot. Um, what are the biggest struggles that you see on leaders nowadays?
I think that the biggest challenge for leaders is nowadays the amount of transformations that they are exposed to, and also the level of uncertainty. Because navigating in times of uncertainty requires you as a leader to, first of all, again, this is the mindset to believe in the vision that you have created, and of course, adapting this upon what's happening in the world. But secondly, and that's equally as important, to actually be a leader for your team. Because being able to stay calm in turbulent times, to make sure that you're building trust within your team, having this genuine human connections is so important as almost like a glue factor in your organization. Um, and I think this applied already for a couple of previous years ago, but I think positivity is also an important factor. So if I would summarize, let's say, to make two sticky messages from this conversation, I would say leaders need to apply a 3P approach. So one is for positivity, to stay positive in today's uncertain time. Three is to focus on the people part. And then three is to focus on the processes. So that's, I would say, the 3P: positivity, people, and processes. And then there is also the 2T approach. And this applies to technology and talent, and to put it in the right mix. Because if we're looking at innovation, then the tendency is, and I love to work with leaders who are having a technical background, because I think I'm always amazed by how they are thinking, how they are creating. But I think the risk is that they are focusing too much on the technology and too little on the people aspect. So through the 2T approach, my recommendation is to focus 80% on your talent or people skills, um, and then 20% on the technology. So put it in the right balance.
Yeah, that we see this a lot because what you described is what we see when we start to talk with the companies, with CEOs. Um, I see some of them very lost about this technology as aspect, and they are too much focused on the technology side instead of navigating, focusing on the people, focus on a process, focus on a vision. And sometimes the technology could be the disruptor factor of all from all this loop. Okay.
Yes.
Um, and yes, I totally agree with you. Your 3P and 2T make lots of sense in this situation, and I identify that as a leader. Okay, but yeah, very very interesting. Um,
And I
yeah,
also, I completely get it, right? I mean, if you're passionate about technology, ideally you want to spend all of your time on the technology. And
Yeah,
I
it's true.
mean, technology is not arguing with you. It's you don't have to
You don't
convince
have
technology.
funds, exactly.
It's easier to focus on the
It's easier.
technology part than on the on the people talent part. But that being
Because the
said,
technology is the same, it's logic, and you
yes,
have two persons that could be have similar background, but they will be
yeah,
completely different.
it's
They
like
will
0 or 1.
it's 0 or 1 basically.
Yes, yeah.
Very cool, very cool. In terms of this role of leader, okay, from my perspective of being the leader of a startup uh, that it has been growing in these 3 years, some of the old rules that I saw from and that I learned in terms of leadership, some of them apply, some of them have to be reconsidered. And from our clients, what we saw is that the leadership roles, playbook roles, is changing. Um, how you see this change nowadays? Which is the major difference from a leader nowadays to a leader of the older days?
So I think a great question. And for those who are following me on LinkedIn, I posted about, I'm daily posting on leading innovation. And yesterday I posted about the Formula One principal, Zach Brown. And I think he has the best explanation for this, because he is making the metaphor that if you decide to climb a mountain as a team, do you rely then on all of the experienced leaders as participants who have never climbed that mountain, but they are really experienced in leadership, um, but they are exposed to new challenges because this is a new challenge to reach the top. So do you rely then on the expertise of those leaders, or do you rely on the expert as a guide who is guiding you towards the peak and who knows every rock, every path to actually climb because he knows that domain? And I think traditional leadership is really focused on the titles that leaders bring from the past. Well, I think today's leadership, because of the rapid evolvements and changes, you need to rely more on the subject matter experts in domains, because you cannot wrap your arms or head around all of the things that you knew in the past. It's just changing too fast. So increasing trust and increasing autonomy, which I find really important, especially in corporate organizations, because I've seen them centralizing a lot of their activities over the past years, which is nowadays reducing their flexibility, reducing the fact how they can adapt on market changes, and also reducing the autonomy. And I'm actually a big promoter of increasing autonomy in companies. With clear guidelines, with a clear play field. I mean, innovation for me always needs to be guided through clear guidelines and being clear on why you innovate, and but be open on the what and the how. I mean, you need to put guidelines on your budgets, on your timelines, on your resources that you put available. But I think the level of autonomy and relying on subject matter experts is what today's leadership is the biggest change or evolution of today's leadership versus the past.
Yeah, makes a lot of sense. Just picking 2 or 3 points from your answer. First picking the Zach Brown leader, okay, which is very curious because when he arrived on McLaren was mostly the probable worst worst team at Formula One at the time. Okay, they had a big star like Fernando Alonso, and they are always on the back foot in every single race. Nowadays, McLaren is the title contender after 4 or 5 years. This, despite of all the changes, despite all of the innovations, these have to be glued with a great leadership. It's not only Zach, but probably the persons that are near him are doing a good job. These parts, in terms the other parts that you referred, yes, in terms of leadership, um, I see and I do a lot on Engibots to put that responsibility on the people. Okay, I don't want to hire people that I don't trust. That I don't trust they will grow, they will thrive, they will pick the information, the content, and go looking forward to do the stuff. Okay. Now that's especially at our area, which is the area based on coding, which is coding with AI, will improve a lot on next years. The single skill that I look on people is their capacity to think, just put some thoughts on the topics and try to reach some solutions. Okay, and this is not easy for many people. Okay, especially for young folks that are entering in the market that passed the COVID phase during the university, and they struggle a lot with this. Okay, but as a leader, the two important parts that you referred is the same that I'm seeing in NGOs right now. The responsibility on the people, their independence for making the decisions to go moving forward with the topics, and the other is the flexibility. Okay, being very flexible, but try to have how I say a vision on the horizon, okay? But be flexible to adapt to new things, to new changes, to new people. That is a very important point. Looking for this AI stuff right now because everyone is talking about AI right now. How do you see AI and the most recent technologies changing leadership, or how will it change leadership in next years?
So I think a great question, and I like to add on to how you have described your leadership style within the company. So great introduction. Is that I think the skill of acting is becoming even more important versus thinking. I recently read a quote that actually made me laugh, and it was like, why the dumbest leaders are nowadays more successful is because they don't think about overthinking. They just act. And I mean, I value intellectual, intelligent leaders. I mean, don't get me wrong on that. That being said, if you only think and not act, you won't create a movement. So your ability, either when you're like an entry, a new entry type of role, or when you are in the as part of the board members, I think your ability to act, leveraging the benefits of AI has never been so important because, frankly said, you can say AI is replacing the human intelligence. Frankly said, I mean, if you don't know it, you find it out through AI. So you could say AI is replacing a part of the human intelligence. But the way we make AI works for us is the way how we leverage it, how we act upon it, the inputs that we are putting into that, and then anticipating on the outputs. So I think as a leader, being able to create movements supported by AI is where the real value can be generated. So when we are also looking at today's decision making, and I actually repeat this already for more than a decade, is that it's important to combine data-driven decision making with data insights. Human insights, what I mean with that. So data-driven insights is the rational, factual information that AI can generate, but AI cannot give you context. This is where we need human insights for the context to be able how to interpret the data, being aware of this context. And having the both balanced is, I think, what is most important for today's leadership decision making, leveraging AI as a result of that.
Yeah, especially because AI doesn't have the gut feeling for something. Because I still think that some decisions of a leader are sustained by data. I do it,
Mhm.
okay, are sustained by deep analysis, deep thoughts, looking for the context around it. But at the end, you should have the final filter, which is my gut feeling in terms of a certain situation, a certain behavior, and AI doesn't have that. Okay.
No, I agree.
Which are the skills or the parts of leadership that you think that AI very difficultly will replace or have some input? Which are the human parts of leadership that will continue without any intervention?
So, like you already said, the intuitive part is, I think, the most important one. I mean, if we're speaking about how to deal with today's uncertainty, how to stay positive, how to create a feeling of belonging, what I think is super important to motivate your team, to inspire your team, and again focusing on creating the movement that you want to make as a leader. So AI is really rational, and I think that's why leaders need to become more intuitive to be able to connect on a human level with each other. So your creative skills, your empathy to be able to read your people, what is going on, how can I support you as a more servant leadership style to make you succeed? Because if you succeed, the company will succeed. And this is, I think, what today's leaders will differentiate in staying successful or not.
Yeah, you touch a very important point because I see that you will have smaller companies on the future that will probably have the 10 or more times more the revenue that they have right now. So we have smaller companies doing more revenue, okay? And a smaller team is more dependent from his leader, his direct leader, okay? And I think that I noticed as a leader from a startup with 10 person right now, is that if I'm not right, if I'm very tired, if I am my head completely full of topics and I not cannot see clear the vision, or I'm stressed, this reflects on a company. Even if I'm not very well in terms of my health or my imagine that I do in a week I don't do too much sports. Okay, that reflects on my humor, my energy, and will reflect on my team and in my company. Okay, that is a thing that I witnessed in the last 2 3 years. Okay, and in terms of practical aspect that you do with your clients, with your leaders, that you do the leadership work. Okay, um, what kind of help do you provide to a leader? Because as I put in the chair of the leader of a solo leader, a solo founder, it's a struggle to find a way because it's a struggle every day. We have the vision, but we have to be very adaptable. We have lots of people around us that we should care, and it's a struggle. And even from one day to the other, uh, even with a good night of sleep, sometimes our thoughts change. Okay, and
Yeah.
the way we are seeing yesterday is different. Um, it is funny because I'm saying right now to people that are asking me. Actually, I'm not a sole founder. I have AI as a founder as well because sometimes to ping pong some ideas, I use AI since the beginning of Engibots. But in terms of practical aspect, imagine me as a leader and other leaders from startups and even bigger companies, tech or non-tech. What kind of help do you provide to them? Okay, to the struggles that they are finding right now.
Yeah, so first of all, congratulations on your personal reflections. I think they're really strong about and being honest about how your environment is mirroring yourself. And I think every leadership development journey starts with either being aware or becoming aware. So, becoming aware of what you experience around you and to become aware of those patterns, because when we are speaking about leadership development, I always recommend to look at patterns, because those patterns are actually
Will
giving you,
repeat.
yes, it is giving you your priority setting. So um, if you're having multiple experience of your team members not checking in with you or not delivering or whatever they do, then this is your sign that you need to become stronger on that. So you need to be closer on your follow-up on those individuals or leaders. You need to become clearer on when you expect that deadlines to be met or what do they need to succeed. So it's always first figuring out what are the challenges of you as a leader. So becoming aware or being already aware is the first starting point. And I'm really happy that you also mentioned the importance of taking good care of yourself, because you can only give if you recharge yourself first. And having seen even at the global level on leaders, and last week it was the Paris Marathon, which is Schneider Electric, one of the main sponsors for that. So every year you see those top leaders participating in that. And I always wondered myself, okay, how do you combine this? Being already occupied in your work, having a family, and then also taking the time to train for such an event or to be in sport. But now I really realize how important it is to to balance the three of them. So your work, your family, and then also exercising. Um, so I think being able to recharge yourself, either this is through sport or through relaxation, going out, spending time in nature, either by yourself or together with your family, prioritizing your sleep, a minimum of 8 to 9 hours a night. This is what you need for the long term. I mean, leadership is a marathon, and sometimes you need to sprint. But if you only sprint all the time, you will be burning out. So fueling yourself with the right food, nutrition, sleep, but also the right environment is really important. And that's why your clarity, your priority setting is the most important one, because that allows you to put healthy boundaries on all of the other things that not matter at that time, um, for yourself and for your team members.
Very cool. Actually, I say sometimes to my team, which is true, that the best work that I do for the company is not on the computer.
No, it's you're right.
Yeah,
Yes.
probably it's when I'm playing golf or doing something with my family. It's the
Yes.
times that I have that haha moment. I should try this. This makes sense. And the input, the level of these ideas are so good comparing to the ones that you have when you are struggle with the stress and that kind of stuff. And yeah, and I reflect a lot on this aspect of marathon leader. Okay, you want to guarantee that you have a high outcome in terms
Mm.
of your leadership work. Okay, and the only way to do it on a long time is thinking like a marathon. Is sometimes managing your effort, managing your stress, and recognize that you have certain times that you okay, I will be more occupied, but after this time I have to lower my efforts to guarantee that I recover a bit. Okay.
Yeah, and I
Uh,
think no,
yeah.
I think leaders need to manage their energy, and we all have different ways on how to recharge ourselves on energy. So we all have preferences of work, what we like and what we dislike. And this is super important, because if you are all day exposed to work that you dislike, then it will drain your energy. Where other people in the company or within your network uh, have the talent to do that work. So that's why being complementary to each other and organize your work around your talents, your energy is key to deliver the most optimal results.
Yeah. Uh, it happened to me at the beginning of Engibots. We were few, so I had lots of stuff on my side. But once we started to grow and I started to see, okay, I can delegate stuff, okay,
Mm.
and leave some tasks from my mental space. I could be also occupied as well, but I will have more mental time to focus on other aspects. It changed a lot the growth from Engibots, okay. This was a personal aspect, a personal strategy that worked for me. And yeah, basically is the important part. Looking for you want to add something, Marianne?
Yeah, I want to ask you something. So,
Yeah,
what do you as a leader recommend other leaders? So, what is basically your success factor for I think your impressive growth of your company of Engibots?
I think that we have two factors for the growth. First of all, we took a big risk at the beginning of Engibots because we can follow the path of going to be a consultancy, RPA consultancy company, okay, which was my previous experience, or take advantage of the AI advances that we were facing at the time. I created Engibots. I took that risk. I think to myself, if we have to fall, we will fall in style. Okay. And I said that to my team. Okay. And they committed to the vision. And now for 6, 7, 8 months, we started to see, okay, this resulted well. We are on the great spot in comparison to other concurrency. Okay.
Mm.
Even being a very small company, we were having a very great advantage point due to this risk. Okay. The other point, I really worked a lot in past years, my leadership skills, not only in terms of knowledge, but in terms of practical aspects of it. If you go to see my books here on my shelf, are most about personal development, entrepreneurship, finances, economies, and I read a lot. Okay, I go to workshops. I have mentors. I'm at a university. I'm constantly learning and having that side of taking care of myself, my company, my family, and my employees, my clients, but trying to balance all of them and put clear boundaries between them. I think, this were the factors that lead NGOs here. I don't know if we will keep growing or fall in next year, but so far I think we are doing a good job, until acceptable job at least.
Oh, great.
Great.
I appreciate the vulnerability on that as well.
Yeah, let's go to our final question because time flies. Um, so looking for the future, because we are seeing a great transformation in terms of technology, in terms of society. I think that we should rethink how we act as a society, especially in the education part. How you see the future of leadership in 5, 10 years from now?
Yeah, so I think AI will stay here at least for the 5 to 10 years, and it will only expanding throughout companies. So everything that can be automated, I think will be automated. That's my prediction. Um, that requires leaders again to have this systems thinking skill, because I think the most energy draining work is to go every day chase tickets on different digital help desks, fixing the digital issues that we are facing on. I think nobody will be happy with that type of role. Um, but at the same time, the digital skill set of understanding where some of the systems are broken or needs to be repaired or needs to be streamlined is an important part of today's and future leadership's role. Another, I think, a very interesting perspective on AI is that in 3 to 5 years, it will outbeat the intelligence of humans. So it's predicted that AI will have an intelligence of 400 to 500 IQ. And that makes us really reflect on I mean, the humans have been always the most, let's say, advanced species in the world. I mean, we are having a more dominant function versus zebras, as an example. But with AI, the world can be changing. So I think it's really like a fundamental question almost. Okay, in which extent will humans stay in the lead of AI, or will AI uh, become in the lead of humans? That's, I think, really one of the disruptive questions of the next 5 to 10 years. And to approach it from a positive side, because that's what I said with the 3 Ps is important, is that AI can also help us to apply things in a fair manner. Of course, we need to contextual part through human insights. But when we are speaking about applying things in a fair way, then my only yeah wish can be that AI can leverage and support us with that.
Very cool. Very close, very good close answer to this question. Marianne, it has been a pleasure, absolute pleasure to have you on the show. This was fantastic conversation. I'm sure that our audience will get a lot of value from it. To everyone listening, thank you for joining us for another episode of Automation Shot. If you enjoyed this conversation, don't forget to like, comment, or share your thoughts. We would love to hear from you. Thank you, Marianne. It was a pleasure. See you next time.
Thank you, Ricardo. Have a nice day.